Okay, so starting here on the third turn of Armada. The Spanish fleet is mostly on the board, or Armada if you'd rather. We got the last little force coming through at Corunna. Now I'm going to cheat the sequence of play because I think this is how it should be meant to be done. Normally you buy your provisions. Whoops. You buy your provisions and such down here in the acquisition phase, your victuals, your munitions. What's wrong with that? Well, it means if I put my fleets down here next turn, I can't move right away. I don't like that. I think I should be able to be doing my provisioning at the same time that the ships are finishing fitting out. So I'm going to allow the player to purchase and acquire their, I'm not sure if that's the income acquired, probably isn't supposed to be that. But anyway, I just think that works better. You know, they receive their secondary revenue not during the acquisition phase. Yeah, I just get the feeling that things weren't thought through terribly carefully here, and that one may have gotten, one thing got fixed, but it doesn't make sense to have to sit around for an extra turn as I gather my fleet there. I also have built a bunch of Spanish troops. At the same time, the English received a lot of their ships. They triggered their last couple ones up. It looks like it's going to be a big naval battle. We want to prepare for that. There's one thing to worry about here. If you over-provision, like if your fleet or armada has lots of victuals or munitions at the end of the year, you lose that money unless you keep the thing active through the winter. And there's a strong reason why you don't do that. Like you pay higher victualling costs, like 5 times or something during the winter. So you really do not want your fleet in, out at sea in the winter, even if it's kind of in port fitted out. We also have a few units kicking around. The English could conceivably try to slip them into the Netherlands. It's not enough to save Breda, though, which is going to fall. And the extra Dutch troops I have, they don't really matter. I just want to get them on the board down at Amsterdam so that I have some mobile force there. We'll see what goes on. For the Spanish point of view, the idea of trying to build, not that, these things, not that, these things, at a 20 maintenance cost. Now, they don't have to pay the 25 times for those. It's only 6 times because it's a shallow draft boat. But still, it's $120 to get the ability to move across the channel. That sounds great, except they're not going to be able to make it while there's navies in play, which means the Spanish fleet has to pretty much clear the channel for you to be able to bring the Dutch troops across. Now, if that's the case, if you can clear the channel, well, the Spanish Navy is big enough to haul those troops over too. Yeah, it may be a little bit of a time thing, but the barges just are not worth buying, in my opinion. The only way they would be worth it is if you coasted around, and this involves activating France, with a bunch of these shallow drafts, and the English allowed them to kind of sail up to the Netherlands and help that crossing. But the chance of that is, I'd say, impossible, to tell you the truth, because the Spanish shallow drafts might be, they're not really enough to handle the Dutch shallow draft boats. So I just do not see an answer of a way where those barges could possibly make it across. All right, so now we go to the naval phase, and really both sides are going to be gathering their navies, and then we'll jump in at the land phase, probably after the land phase, to show you what happened, because I don't think too much of excitement is going to happen. I think the Spaniards are going to open up a siege on Breda. Next turn they can assault because it's so weak. I don't see the English being able to do anything to stop that. I might also screen Amsterdam. The problem here is, I don't know. I mean, whatever I do, I kind of want to protect. I don't think the Dutch are going to run into Brussels or Liège, but I might want to leave units back there in order to just prevent that from happening. Antwerp would be worth taking. I have to defend that because that's got... Oh, no, it doesn't. I was going to say it's got fleets on it, but I have to leave a unit there or else it'll just fall automatically. You never want to abandon the ports that way. Okay, and as we finish up the May turn, where are my counters? Got this stupid wire on because I've been eating up battery life. I don't remember. The English spent like 48 on their replacement points. On their maintenance cost. The French or the Spaniards 152, and they still don't have all their stuff on the board yet. Plus, they've got additional stuff coming in, particularly at Oporto, that they might be able to sail up there, create a little tiny squadron as replacement ships in case they do get into the engagement. We've got the big stacks, the armadas facing each other. Now, I think the English have the tremendous advantage here, especially once they start kicking in these extra big ships from Chatham and London. The Spaniards get to move next turn, though, before those guys make it down, perhaps. We'll see. Where do the English want to station? They kind of want to be stationed off here, but they still can't cover... Well, here they can cover the channel. Here... I don't know if this counts as French coastal and that they'd get penalized. Over here, they get some coverage to Ireland, but you can't protect all of England and Ireland. And that's where my goal is here. I don't need to win the naval battle. What I need to do is land my troops. Of course, if the Spaniards sail up here and up into the Irish Channel, and then have to make it into there, they could have some serious problems. But my goal is to just land the troops, start the revolt, get the problems going for the English. Maybe get that big force in play. Now, it's hard for the Spaniards because any losses they take, they can't recuperate. Whereas the English, whatever they lose, they can rebuild pretty much, as long as they have any forts left. That makes this a really, really tough situation for the Spaniards to make this landing work. It's one of the reasons why attacking in the first year doesn't really make a lot of sense, because that's a lot of time to lose stuff. On the other hand, even if you get the advantage in England, it's tough to take enough cities to win the game that way. So it's kind of this mixed bag. We're going to see what happens. The other thing I got to worry about is that treasure fleet, which I still haven't looked up the rules for well enough. You know, I vaguely skimmed them earlier. I don't know, I'll have to find it. I'm really bad at looking up rules, especially when things are underway. But yeah, the Spaniards have a lot to spend on this attack. Or more particularly, I'm very worried that they don't have enough cash to launch this whole thing. 5 times the strength, they're getting... I'm bringing in some 20 strength points of infantry to launch over to Ireland and England. And that's not very much at all. I mean, you look at the English Home Guard units here. We got a 20 and a 30. We're going to have some real trouble getting any traction in England. The rebels, even if they come in, are not terribly big. But England may not be able to afford to keep those big armies in the field very long. They don't have a lot of money. They have $1,000. What does that 30 cost? Well, they cost them $60 a turn. Okay, they can afford that. So yeah, it's a hard game for the Spaniards to do anything with. Every attempt that I've made in it, they've kind of gotten washed back. On the other hand, by my understanding with the treasure fleet, it can kind of show up down here. The Brits can, I think, sail down and attack it, but that's a tough sail coming from here. So unless they're stationed over here, they may not make it. And if they are stationed over there, well, they're probably doing some pretty nasty things to the Spaniards. And that's something you don't want to do until you've won the big naval battle, I think. You can't really risk sending a fleet there. But the other thing I'm worried about with the treasure ship is this thing's got some significant firepower. It's got a maintenance cost. How long do you keep it? I don't think the rules really specify that. But it's got to come in next year. So what I'm kind of thinking is whenever it comes in, it becomes a regular ship. No transport capability. But, yeah, nah. I don't think you can use it as a ship to help your battles. I think if you lose it in battle, you lose. Anyway, I got to look that up. And it sounds like the first video is ready to start. Okay, here we move into turn 4 in Armada, which is the June turn. Now this is the earliest turn. The Spaniards have to write it down, but I'm assuming they would have done this. This is the earliest turn their treasure fleet can come in. Great. So I put it on the board. It's pretty much at no risk down there because the British fleet is still in the Isles. And there's a threat. I also built the Armadas. Well, the Spanish Armada collected up here. And for the Brits, they actually have 3 separate fleets because they have to bring some of their ships over combined here. They all have the same amount of victuals and munitions. This took a little bit of balancing and calculating and guesstimating, as did the Spanish ones. The Spanish have more money. The Spanish have some $600 left. They spent, well, it came out to $1,500, and then I decided, no, I couldn't afford that. I don't remember how much. Oh, no, I miscalculated the, I charged a little bit too much for the munitions. So, actually, I think it came to $1,500 and something. They ended up taking an extra munition from it. The English, I was trying to push their munitions up higher. I couldn't do it, and you can see their victuals are also very low, but they have much less area they have to cover. And if they're in port, they don't have to victualize. They ended up spending, had to be about 800 or so. I don't know quite what it came out to be. Let's see. I can't calculate it because I did it in too many pieces. Too much of it was over on the track. But basically, you do this kind of balancing and arithmetic in your head. So this thing has 96, was I think the core cost for 2 of these or for each munition. But these guys are sitting at 10, 18. So 18 times 4, it costs them 72 per munitions or for 2 of those. So you get kind of a feeling, I can actually add it up. 96 plus 72, and we had 4, 5. There's precisely what we spent. 840 ducats for that. Remember, they only started with like 1,200. This doesn't give them a lot of money to play around with either. A couple $100. When I look at the maintenance costs, I'm worried. I barely make it. It cost me about 50 a turn to last. Now I've got to pay 100, 200, 250. I've not got that much, but I'm not expecting that the Spaniards will be out there in October, so I can put my fleet back into the back into the docks at that point. And some of them may have to be repaired though, and I won't have the cash for that. And you know, there's just this balance, but I want to win the naval battle. I can't let the Spaniards in here easily. All right. Where are we then? Well, I think we're moving to the naval phase. Yep. And this is where things start getting interesting. A lot of games, they never get interesting during the first year. You got to go through this first year and you're just like, oh man, I can't do it. And you decide not to pull the trigger, you know, somewhere early on because you had to plan for it to do it. I've got some additional Spanish ships down here. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to bring them in. I've got some decent cash, so I could victualize them and get them munitions, etc. This money doesn't just show up, but if the English capture it, it shows up for them. All right, on to the Navy. Okay, well, the English have shifted from Plymouth to over here. Now, this means they're going to have to pay the victualization. They've brought all their ships over. It gets them a little closer to being able to intervene on an Irish attack. Now, the real question here would be, would splitting the fleet into pieces make sense? Would, say, leaving one force here and one maybe floating out at sea where I can intercept an Irish or a move to northern England, would that work? Well, I don't trust it. It's that simple. I just don't trust having not my whole fleet together. I want to demolish the Armada. I don't mind letting them make a landing. I'll react to that if I have to, but I want to crush their fleet if I can. And splitting my fleet as the English seems like a good way to allow the Armada to defeat me in detail. Okay, so then, why couldn't I just stay at Plymouth? Well, I probably could. But I chose not to. So now it's time to sail the Armada. And we're going to set out into here. And that allows us to move with the wind. Well, let's start things off with this treasure fleet instead. That'll be safer. We're also moving with the wind. We're heading down this way. And we are in April to September still. September there. So we roll a couple of dice. A 6 means we lose 4 movement points, so I only have 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. This is still with 7, 8, 9. I'm in Seville. I'm pretty much safe there. The city can be captured. That would be the only danger. But if I see an English fleet starting to head down that way, I can worry to sack the fortress. Okay, but what about the Armada? The Armada is also going to be going with the wind. I don't know what the slowest ship is. It's probably a 23. Yeah. And we've got enough carrying capacity there. I have too many victuals, and this is really an ugly situation because I bought victuals for all those armies, which is part of why it was so expensive. Those cost 5 per, so that was for 20 strength points, 100 pops for a victual. That's 400 ducats there. There's no way of recording just the troops' victuals. I'm planning on landing them on Ireland, and then they won't need them, but that's okay. And there are some other little fuzzy things, like if I land on Ireland and then pick them up, I have the victuals on board. I have to kind of pretend that I can remember that or something. All right, let's see what we get, and we hope we don't get a crappy roll on this. A 6, that means we're going to lose 4, so we have 19 movement points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're out of range. 12, 13, 14, and we're going to make our landing. Landing happens during the naval movement phase. Now the boats could continue moving, but my intention here is to actually, the only question is, could I take something like Dublin, which I'm not going to be able to siege without the Navy. I can assault it without the Navy. And I've got a fairly decent sized force. This is only a 6 defense if I siege it. So I don't think I really want the Navy there because I may be wanting to sail right there. Here's the problem. The Brits can either go blockade me. Is that terrible? Well, I probably don't want to fight them. And then it comes down to who's got the most victuals. Alternatively, they can station themselves a couple hexes off, and then as soon as I move, intercept me. Same situation. I can outweight them. But can I? The weather is going to get bad. I think the fight has to happen. The question is when and how, and you know, and what the effect's going to be there. All right, we're on the Irish Revolt table. I just landed 20 strength points of Spaniards there. I get a 4. That means I'm going to get 7 strength points of Irish. Now, 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I have all the counters. And those are going to be placed in Ulster and Munster equally as possible. Drop 3 up here in Sligo, and the other 4 will go down here in Cork. And that's 4 victory points I just grabbed. Hey! With those 10, I'm almost at the minimal victory. Of course, we've got some other issues going on here that might affect the victory point changes. Also, because any Catholics showed up, all the Protestant Irish show up. Now, there aren't a lot of these. I only got 4 strength points of them. And they have to be shown up in Connaught and Leinster, divided equally. Put these here, put these up in Limerick. Make it as hard as possible. So, the more places that I have to siege to take, the more painful this fight's going to be. But I've got half of Ireland. That's my 4 points. I may just pull out of Ireland with my navy and sail up and hit England next, which causes a bunch of problems for the English because they don't have a lot of money left in order to raise the home defenses. So you can see, if you're willing to do this, it's a lot easier than the Spaniards actually had. Their problem was they were sailing up this way. I think they were hoping to pick up additional troops and ship them in or something. I don't know. But if you're willing to take your troops from Spain, it's not that impossible. Winning the game may be. We'll see. And I guess we now go to the land phase here because the Brits' navy went first. And I've decided to kind of back away from my stance before. I think I'm going to have trouble coping with England. I think my goal here has largely been met in a sense that I've really hurt England's cash. They're going to get some cash next turn. But how about I concentrate on winning Ireland? Oh. Do I want to send... I don't. I was thinking I might want to send De Leyva ashore, but I don't really want to. Losing land troops is a different situation. So here's the thing. What happens if I sail home? Of course, I got to deal with the wind then, and that's painful. I sail home, and I concentrate on winning at Ireland. Yeah, I spent a lot of points on victuals, etc. Maybe I want to fight a battle. But right now, I'm going to lay siege here. I'm going to see what happens. At the worst, it costs me another turn. But I want to get home before September. So I don't want to be sailing out there too long. I bought a lot of victuals for no really good reason if that's the case. All right, well, whatever. And the English kind of spread out. You can see they moved some of their troops over to help face where the Spanish have conglomerated. We've got a couple of places here. We've got a siege here, which I'm sure I've got more. I've got many multiples to 1 there, greater than 3 to 1. So we'll do that quick attack. 1, that's not going to break it. Okay, so I ought to have a little number counter here because that's the second round of that, and I'll mark that. But then this one, it doesn't matter how long it is. That's a 6 because it's a port right now. 12, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24. To 6 is 4 to 1. And we're going to lose 2 steps, but they're wiped out. Now you can see they only have 1 step to lose. Hey, too bad, you know. I lost more than I had to. Now I lose 2 steps. I'm going to take that in Spaniards, even though the Irish are cheaper, well, are weaker. The reason for that is because I got to pay maintenance on these suckers. And money's tight right now. I don't want to have to pay for them. I can always rebirth them as well. The Irish, they're one use. I get them killed, they're gone, which is one reason I'm hunting the Irish down over here rather than going for the Brits. All right, now it's maintenance time. And as we push through the end of the turn, 180 ducats maintenance for the Spaniards. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4 more turns at 200 each. No, they can't afford that. So I had to dismantle some of my troops here, and I dismantled my Germans and some of my Walloons that I can bring back easily there. I've reduced my strength quite a bit. I want to take Breda still, but I think I've got enough there that I can deal with the Dutch. Of course, that massive demobilization, and I had to pay the 180 this turn for them, that massive demobilization may embolden the Dutch to make some attacks. For the English, they paid 66. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's probably 280 or so. They don't have 200 left after this, so they too have a problem, and they have a real problem, which is if the Spanish decide to land in northern England, I can't afford to build the kind of armies that are going to drive them out. I've overinvested, probably with both sides, in navies, and that's one of the real risks in this game, I think, is that players will tend to, I can afford the navy. It's a tough call. You always have to make this kind of balancing. How much can I afford? What can I afford to build? What can I afford to maintain for my troops? Most games, it's very easy. You kind of look and you can say, I can afford to build these troops, and here's my maintenance cost, and this, that, and the other. In this one, you really have to think ahead, because you get your cash only at the beginning of each year. And then you have to kind of project how much you're going to need for the rest of the things you have. The English might have to demobilize part of that navy in order to make it through. Now, I count on being able to demobilize it sometime fairly soon, but what if the Spanish land in England? Then I'm screwed. Then I'm fighting a land war in England and unable to probably build my navies. I may win that land war. I may take out the Spaniards and force them to send another fleet. That's one of the problems with the game, is that the actual landing in England doesn't necessarily do all that much. The English can wipe that out pretty easily. But I'd like to make this attack. If I can get it off next turn, I'm going to. I wish I was in port right now so that I could buy more victuals. All right. Well, that is the end of this turn, and we go into the 5th turn. I just realized I was cheating here. You see, I just walked in there. I can't attack at this turn. This is the first turn of the siege. So there was a loyal Irish there. I think I lost two of these, which means I owe 16 more bucks in supplies for them. Waterford. $20. That should do it. Okay, so I fixed a issue there. There was something else that I went to sleep knowing that I either wanted to say or wanted to fix, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is. So I'm starting this new turn 5, and nobody's laying out more troops. Now you could say the English really need to. Yeah, they can't afford to. Basically, once the Spanish fleet is gone, I can do something. I know what it is. So, it's what I took care of here. The Spanish treasure fleet down here, what's not specified is when that sort of becomes unloaded. My feeling is that the way the rules are written, it's in danger sitting down there. Now let me see if the errata covers anything there, because I could see where something like that's left out. That's going to be section 11. No. So it's not clear whether or not that's still a target. I'm playing that it is a valid target. And so the Spaniards are building a military unit, the only military unit being built this turn. And nobody's deactivating anything. They are actually within range of some English ships, but the English ships would have to sail against the wind. They have a couple with 30 movement points that could get there. Now, against the wind, it's really unlikely that you're going to get more than 25 movement points. 1 in 36 chance? No. Yeah, 1 in 36 chance that they will be able to make it down there. No reason. You know, no reason to chance it. The English Navy is going to position itself either in a blockade position or near that so that they can intercept it. The Spaniards want the fight too. They've got all these munitions. Oh, I know what I forgot. I forgot to spend my victuals. That was the thing. At the end of last turn, the victuals should have gone down by 1. The Spanish want the fight too. They don't want to waste their munitions either. They think they're going to have more money next turn or next year, so they'll be able to repair the damage more easily. We'll see how that all works out. And the English will be able to launch troops over to Ireland as needed later. It's just, right now it's going to be tough. So I guess I start this turn. Okay, and the way we're opening things up, the English get to do their naval movement first, but they've got a problem. I need to fight that Armada. There's no question in my head there. But if I move here, that's against the wind. If I move here, that's against the wind. I'm going to do it. There's no modifiers for your captains and all that. So 7, I lose 10 movement points. I have about 13. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, even though I've switched to with the wind, that doesn't matter right now. Because the only time you roll twice is if you start off with the wind and switch to against, I believe. Let me make sure of that. Because that would add another little annoyance there. Yeah, it's only if you start with. Now I'm adjacent to the space and I can declare an attack on the Spanish Armada. And the Armada has choices here. They can either retreat into the port and take this as a siege. Well, that creates a big problem where they're the attacker if they come out. So they're going to take this as a fight. And we run to the naval combat rules. And all we have are deep drafters here. The English are going to make their attack. Now let me count my factors. I'm not good at counting on camera, as we know. 10, 16, 19, 25, 29, 34, 43, 53, 60, 66, 71, 75, 78, 79, 80. So the English are attacking with 80, which is quite a bit, actually. The Spaniards have 10, 24, 28, 34, 38, 43, 53, 57, 59, 62, 65. So 80 to 65. Well, here's the problem. This is just a differential chart rather than some kind of odds chart. 80 to 65 doesn't sound bad at all, but because this uses the differential, well, that's a 15-point bonus for the attacker. And again, we roll a die and see what happens. Now, this is not terribly favorable. You can see both sides take damage. So both sides are going to have to blow a munitions chit. And there's no effect. All right. At this point, I believe the English could just call off the attack, but the Spaniards have the right to withdraw. They can get out of there on a 5 or a 6, but I'm kind of in favor of this fight, I think. Not really. See, the whole problem for me is the wind effect to what's going on here. The wind effect is means I want to be home before September. I'm also likely to get intercepted again. So yeah, I want to get out of here if I can. And what's not clear is what happens. I think the battle just ends, but yeah, it doesn't really say what happens in a disengagement. Maybe it says a lot of times they're up here. Nope, I don't think so. The combat just ends. Okay, so I need a 5 or 6 to get out of here. I do not get out, which means the English can attack again. And remember, we're on that, we'll both spend a munitions. We're on that 11 to 20 table. 6. Okay, so the attacker takes 2 steps, the defender takes 3. You can see this isn't terribly bloody. Well, 2 steps for the attacker. This thing's pretty weak. It doesn't cost a whole lot, but it gets rid of some damage. And 3 steps for the Spaniards. Now the Spaniards, to some extent, would like to get rid of these really expensive ships, although they're expensive to rebuild. These are their troop carriers. This one in particular. I don't think I need to move that many troops again. I'm going to take this for 2 of my steps. And my 3rd step, I'll take one of these weaker guys here that I might rebuild. Okay. Spanish get out again. No. So we fight another round. Now, strength-wise, what if I lost? Because this is important, right? The English have only lost 3 strength points. I was at a 15 differential. The English lost 3 strength points. The Spaniards lost 4, so that differential goes up by 1, and another 2 there. So now it's at 18. It's on the same chart. If it goes to the more than 20 chart, that's kind of bad for me. That's a 1, that's no effect. I get to try to run. And I'm out of there. Okay. Now we have a victory point effect of all this. And somewhere or another I have to note down the Spaniards have lost 3 steps of naval units, which is worth a victory point, and the English have lost only only a pair of steps. Fortunately, because I didn't read through the entire errata, my original map had these modifications on it. There's some correction, which is that Coruna and Santander should have a 10 activation level, which meant I could have built more ships there. These were matched to the current fleet holding there, and they wanted more ship building capability, which actually allows the Spaniards to build their ships more effectively, and I would have been able to launch this with more stuff, probably. The thing I'm looking for that I don't see, let me explain the wind situation here. The Spanish can sail up this way. They can come back down this way over on, if they did the sail around Scotland, but they still have to sail against the wind here. Yet, there's this weird little slice of the map here where they can sail with the wind and keep going there. That slice doesn't extend onto the map itself. Now here's the question. The Spaniards continued sailing around England in order to not have to face against the wind. If they had to come back around here in Scotland and sail against the wind here no matter what, they would have just turned and sailed against the wind. So what I'm saying is that there's going to be a notional set of hexes here. I don't think the game makes a lot of sense without that. It's always been something that kind of bothered me. So now for the Spanish naval movement, they're going to, I think, head home. I got plenty for this army to do in Ireland. So I'm going to head into here, and the English have a chance to try to find me. I think on a 3 through 6 they do, and we get to start the battle again. They do not. I'll sail another hex up this way, taking the coastal so that I can keep going this way. The English get another shot at me. They do not. I get away. So now I'm sailing with the wind at this point. This is my third movement point. I have to make a quick check. And I am fine. Now my slowest ship appears to be a 21. I hit one of my slower ones there. So I've gone 1, 2. I don't know. I think I had to go against the wind, actually. Because that wasn't coastal only movement. I'll be back. Yeah, my choices are to swing around or otherwise, because I can either use pure coastal or dark coastal. So let's say I go this way instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I lost no movement. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm over here. And that'll get me home. Alright. Now we're going to go to the land movement in combat. I don't think a lot too exciting is going to happen there. We got this siege underway where I can make an assault. This should be turn 3 of the siege. On turn 6 it falls. And that's going to be in the winter if I have to wait that long. And then here I am allowed to start assaulting. This will never fall in and of its own. And the fact that I can assault ports is something I kind of forgot about, sort of, with these. These are not immune. The Spaniards can take all of the Protestant Netherlands in this game. You can look at that as a little weird, but because, I mean, historically, the flooding and everything enabled the Dutch to pretty much hold the Spanish off whenever they were at their worst position. They would not lose the coastal areas ever. Anyway, maybe they've decided they don't want to do that anymore. Okay, so the English decide to launch an attack to relieve Breda. Now, or the Dutch do. I've only got 7, 10, 12, 14 strength points there. I don't know what the Spaniards have. And we'll take a quick look. It's more. 11, 16, 19, 23. That sounds like there's just a 1 to 2 table. That's where we're going to be. Yeah, there's a 1 to 2 table. Now that's not a terrible thing. Except I rolled a 6. So I only caused 1 hit to the Spaniards. And I don't know where the Burgundians start. I think Franche-Comté or Lorraine or something. That may not even be covered in the game. I'm going to take a Walloon as my hit, because I can rebuild them kind of at will. And I think I'm still over strength here. The English have to take 2, or the Dutch. That's not too hard. But what is bad is I drew a retreat. And I think bad things are going to happen there. I may be forced back here. That's an impassable sea hex side, but not an impassable land hex side. And I'm afraid I have the plug in my camera, so I can't hold it comfortably. Okay, so this is terrible. I have to retreat, and Parma can actually advance into Amsterdam, which he wouldn't otherwise get. That destroys another 2 steps of naval units. Is it by steps that victory points are handled? Yep. Okay. So the English have essentially lost 2 more steps. Now these ships, these Dutch ships, they're fully funded only by the English. The English have to actually pay to build them or to use them, even though the rest of the Dutch forces do not. And this is a terrible, terrible result for the Dutch here. I mean, they are going to lose there eventually. The Netherlands is a tough fight. The English have to throw troops in if the Spaniards go all out there. But this really sped things along there. And they probably shouldn't have attacked, but I didn't know that I would roll a 6, obviously. Alright, now the Spaniards get to make their attacks. They're not doing anything too exciting. I could leave Liege because I could regain that very easily. I know what's... God damn it. I know what I'm facing here. I've got 14 strength points to effectively 3. That's 4 to 1. I can make that attack. I'm going to take 2 steps. They take 3 and a loss. Well, 2 steps wipes me out, but they're wiped out too. I'm not sure what happens to the leader here. Oh, wait. I have some 2-step units. Awesome. I'll keep the Italians there, and I'll wipe out these Spaniards. The reason I want to do that is there's no way to recover lost steps. So I get to hold this. I'm curious if I would have lost the leader, or if he'd just be sitting there like some butthole, or if he could get away. Okay, let me make sure these Dutch don't have a second step on them. Oh, this guy did. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, some of the counters have a step, some don't. That's weird. But like this huge English counter does not. It's all one big vulnerable piece. So there's another factor. I vaguely remembered this, that the Spaniards have a little bit more flexibility in some cases to their losses. I don't know what to do about those Dutch. I think I'll replenish a step there that they didn't lose. Although I don't know if that was the one I left behind or not. I have no idea. All right. Yeah, we'll call that. Nah, whatever. Okay. So I've got another attack I can make here, which is 6, 7, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. This is only doubled because it's not a fortress. 24 to 4 is still a huge odds difference. And now I mean, I still can take a lot of losses assaulting this. And I take 2 and they take 3. Now their Irish are gone. But I have to take 2 steps, and I'm going to want to take Spaniards for this. Let's see if any of these guys have a bonus step. This guy does. We'll take 2 steps off him. Although to some extent, I may want to use this as a means of reducing my force before I have to pay maintenance costs. But all right, and speaking of which, it is time to pay those maintenance costs. Okay, well, the Spaniards paid 88, which, if they have to continue it for 3 more turns, which they don't, but is going to cost them 264. They have that much cash. The English played 62, and that'll cost them 186. They do not have that cash. I may have to let the Spaniards go home rather than attack them so that I can start spreading my ships out, get them into harbor, and not pay the penalty. I would kind of like to keep attacking them, but I can't afford the bankruptcy penalty, the 20 victory points or whatever. I've got less than 2 turns of funding left. So I think the English have to start going home at this point. All right, I'm going to load this one up for you.